Really appreciate everyone for coming out tonight. It is not always fun to be on a Zoom at 7 p.m. at night, but we really appreciate you being here, your dedication, and the support that you've already given to this amazing moment that is Laura's book launch. It's been a lifetime, but it's more specifically almost a year in the making. My name is John Washington. I'm Laura's partner and have been working to support her through the process of writing this book. Which has been a really powerful experience for me, as I hope it's been for all of you. And just want to say that we want this to be a little bit of a celebration of the process, find out some more about what's in the book, hear from some folks who have read it, inspired some of the parts of it about what it means to them. And then also, yeah, we all now have to preach the evangel of silent seasons and get other people to buy it and be interested in it so that it can be the success that it deserves to be, especially for the folks who have read it and understand how important it is for our understanding. And as someone who works on environmental work a lot, it is very difficult to get people to understand and get clear on the world that we live in, how it works, and what we can do to change it and preserve our ability, the right that we have to live on this earth. And I think this book is a major step and a culture shift in the way that environmental justice, climate justice are framed, and the kind of stories that are told about it being less academic, more real, more honest, and more personal. And I hope that that continues a movement of more people who've been in Laura's positions, sharing their experiences, sharing their knowledge, and in a way that isn't academic and isn't designed to improve or to impress other academics, but it's actually designed for real people to read, to follow, and to identify with. So I think I would love this book, whether I was Laura's partner or not. I think it's a very special moment, and I hope that we all see the change that Laura wanted to see when she wrote it. So really appreciate that. And I think now we'd like to kick it over to Laura, who's going to do a little bit of a presentation and walk everyone through some of the most important parts, elements, and lessons of Silent Seasons.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I can't see all of you in the frame above me, but yeah, I see your names and I really appreciate everything that you've done. I know I've talked to really each and every one of you about this book and how it's, yeah, been shaping up over the past year. Yeah, I am going to share my screen now, hopefully. Yep. And give you a little presentation. You can now see this. Let's see. So view, slideshow. Okay, can everyone see that? Yeah, okay, so we're here today. It's the virtual launch party. And yeah, October 5th, 2022. At the end of this month, it'll mark a year that I said yes to this book creators program out of Georgetown University. I was in a small business course here in Buffalo, New York. My partner, my accountability partner for the course, recommended that I write a book about my past experiences before I started launching into some other kind of small business endeavor. And so she recommended this program. I called up the person running it, signed up right away, and now a year later, here I am. So it's not, let's see. Okay, here we go. So I wrote a book about sustainability, and there's a lot of definitions of sustainability that are going around these days. The word is everywhere. You can major in sustainability. You can be in the office of sustainability in different local governments, state governments. Corporations are having chief sustainability officers. And so there's a lot of ways to define it and have a lot of terms. And that's kind of what lawyers do a lot, is define terms. So I really wanted to start off by saying that, and this is a quote directly from my book, and this is what I believe sustainability is, which is the practice of working with the Earth systems, physics, people, plants, animals, information, technology, and all other resources to support life on this Earth for current and future generations of people, plants, animals, and the Earth itself. So that is kind of what we're starting with. And I would say I've been chasing this concept, sustainability, through the law, and that's really been my career. And I've really struggled with how to describe like my life and my career and what I've been going through since I decided to do this work, really my whole life. And so I remember writing my sister letters from Texas, like one every day, trying to explain different stages of my life. And I feel like that's kind of evolved almost into this book. So I I'm not going to walk you through the whole book, but this is the table of contents that I clipped out. And as you can see, there's a glossary of terms that starts the book, because environmental law, which is what I'm really trying to teach people here, it's full of terms, it's full of acronyms. A lot of you practice environmental law on this call, and you know that. But I had to start with that because you just keep going through it. So throughout the book, you will run into acronyms, and then you can look them up in the glossary. Yeah, there's also an introduction, which I actually just read into the Keeping Things Alive podcast. I just published episode 88 and read the introduction there. So if you want to hear it on audio, check out the Keeping Things Alive podcast. But today I'm just going to talk about chapter 1 and chapter 2, and that's kind of before I really start getting into environmental law. But I guess the point that I wanted to make here, and a lot of you on this call are like from different parts of my life and across the country, and really my childhood, teenage years, which I didn't really talk about in the book, but I could have. I just went through a bunch of pictures, as you'll see, and I put in the screens. And I actually did do a lot of things with nature when I was in high school and college. But for childhood, I grew up in Eden, New York, which is a small rural town. Let's see, here we go. So we've got my childhood. I did a lot of swimming, and I also grew up on Lake Erie. And this taught me the sustainability lesson that I am just like all other human beings, connected to and a part of the earth. And that was like my first sustainability lesson. It's really gone through my whole life. And this middle picture here is my parents, me and my brother, at Lake Erie. And that was always something when I did live in Texas for a while, explaining to people that, you can't see across the Great Lakes. They look like oceans and they're freshwater. And that's a big reason why I'm still here. My family's here too, but I love the freshwater here. I love going, like I was just at Lake Erie the other day. It's always been a part of my life. The water that we drink is from Lake Erie. And so it's like a part of my body. And so, yeah, I really, it's been a big part of my upbringing and connections. The picture on the left, that's me as the mascot for the Hamburg girls swim team, the high school swim team, which my dad actually just got a coaching award from the Hamburg Alumni Association this past weekend. But there is a fair amount of swimming stories in this book, because as I reflected back, I grew up with, my dad as a swim coach. I was a mascot, and then I did end up swimming for a youth swim club as well as my high school team. And I go into details in the book, but basically my dad as a swim coach, he came across a new type of swimming called total immersion techniques, which was really about working with the water and not fighting against it and doing a bunch of splashing and hard laps. And that really did have a huge impact on me. Like when I look at dams and just different ways that we channel water, I just think about swimming a lot and how like that's really not a good effective approach. And then this third picture on the right, that's me and two lifeguards. I really did spend a lot of time at Lake Erie. My dad was a lifeguard, and I, on summers would a lot of times spend the day there with my brother. And so, yeah, just so much time around water and just how big of an impact that is. Next is dogs in my childhood. And my original story, my inspiration story for Silent Seasons, I actually just published it on my website last week. I haven't really shared it that much because it's actually like really sad. But yeah, this dog here on the right, Archer, he passed away of cancer in November 2020. And that really inspired me to write this book. A lot of my dogs in my life passed away from cancer. And it's just, it's an environmental justice issue in many ways. So yeah, here's a quote from the book about my dogs. I do write about the best summer of my life was in 5th grade. This is me the summer after 5th grade, holding Moose, was the biggest puppy in the litter, and that's Shotzi over there. But that really had a big impact on me, and I write about it. And just dogs, honestly, yeah. I think cats have been taking over my life now too more, although I just going through photos, so many pictures of cats and other animals as well. I do actually want to write a book about animals. That's probably the next one I want to write. Yep, I volunteered at different wildlife rehabilitation centers, the Aquarium of Niagara, like a lot of different things. So next, this is college, and I just want, yeah, I've got some pictures to prove that I really was in the Navy for 1 semester. Here's me. I love this picture in my uniform with like the Star Wars poster behind it. This was my dorm room my freshman year of college, and I lived with 2 other freshman women, and they were not in ROTC. This is me in the middle, ironing my uniform in the middle of the college dorm, rocking out to music. I was ironing my ironing my uniform instead of studying. And that was just because that was the more immediate need. So that was not a good fit for me. And this is a big, yeah, sustainability lesson. It's okay and healthy to admit something isn't working, quit, and seek out a new path or approach that's more sustainable. I do think that a lot of problems with sustainability are caused by just people not wanting to admit that things aren't working. And I think my body told me things weren't working, my mind, my grades, like everything was really saying it wasn't a good fit. Then here's on the right, this picture of me as a few years later, I'm like majoring in natural resources. I had quit the Navy ROTC a few years previous. Yeah, that's Apollo, little dog, and Portia, another German Shepherd who's been an amazing family dog. Yeah, by the creek and at the end of South Creek Road. And ever since I've studied natural resources, I've really been able to go out into the outdoors, like turn over rocks, identify birds, find salamanders. And so that's been a big part of my life and has still impacted my work even as a lawyer and planner. Next, I talk about in the next chapter, after college, as I go to law school, and it's environmental law immersion. And I know that there are schools out there like Lewis and Clark University and University of Vermont that do have more like environmental focus, but I was really told by mentors to go to the best school I could get into, and University of Texas was it. I was also an in-state resident at that point because I'd done AmeriCorps. So I studied at UT Law, but yeah, one of my Nick Andrews on this call with us, and we were really like 2 out of just a handful, yeah, 5 that were interested in environmental law. So it gave me a ton of opportunity and a lot of access, but it also, I think one of the saddest things about environmental law is just like the lack of people that are working on it in many ways. I know in certain areas of the country it's more than others, but I have found that this job has been pretty lonely, and the people I've met along the way have been like great friends, and it's been really good. But I just wish there were like thousands more of us that were doing this work, because it feels like that's the scale that's needed at this moment. And this last picture is me and my dad having beer and barbecue in Texas. I mean, compared to like, yeah, me being the swimming mascot a few slides ago, like it really, like, I really do appreciate like all that my parents have done to really like follow me and like, stay patient with me and try to understand like what I've been doing. And so I really appreciate all the visits to Texas. We had a lot of good times there. Yeah, practicing law there was fascinating. I'm not going to go into it here. I'm going to keep moving on. But yeah, so this is sort of the point of the book where I change into environmental law 101. I give a chapter that explains what environmental law is and how it's set up, and just different notes. It doesn't tell any personal stories about me. And then I launch into a lot of personal stories about my different jobs where I have tried to practice environmental law. Okay, so the next one is, oh, this sustainability lesson. This is the last one I'm going to leave you with. And, there are a lot of sustainability lessons woven throughout the book, but this is the last one, and that there's no one answer silver bullet to fostering sustainability. And I think that's really important. Like, I really wanted to share my perspective, and I really emphasize like the two places I've done most of my living and work is Western New York and Central Texas. And so, I'm more familiar with those places, but everywhere is different. When you're, and the problems are different. And so I think that we all need to be using our imaginations and visions and ideas to really work in the places that we are at, and like with the people that we know and are around us, and have similar self-interests to us. Okay, so I just want to say thank you really quickly for being here. So many of you, I think all of you have supported my Indiegogo campaign this past spring. A lot of you here are my teachers, encouragement, you've been patient, willing to learn, and then you're here to celebrate this accomplishment. So I really appreciate you being here. I'll probably put this up towards the end. There's also like more ways to support, but I want to kind of wait for that and listen to more people. I just want to say about tomorrow at Community Beer Works, and then we're just celebrating that the book is here, and there's a lot more things to come. So thank you. All right. And John, I'll let you.
Okay, yeah, and I guess now we'll transition to hearing from some important people who've read and have been really involved in the process of creating the book and have some really powerful perspectives on the book. So I think first we'll hear from Sarah Sorci, if you want to share with us a little bit about what the book has meant to you.
Sure, thank you. Whoops, there we go. I am just getting over COVID, so if my voice is a little husky, don't mind me. So I am a friend of Laura's from, I believe we met in middle school, and Laura and I have been friends ever since. So since we both moved back to Western New York in the past decade or so, it's been also a pleasure to get to collaborate with Laura with things like I'm joining her on her Keeping Things Alive podcast, and with herbalism when I can. I'm an herbal medicine practitioner and also have a writing project that connects local contamination issues with things that affect gardeners and foragers locally. So Laura's perspective is always just like really valuable for me. And also just the kind of finger on the pulse that Laura has on what's going on in Western New York. So definitely a valued friendship, and was definitely a big honor to get to read an earlier draft of Silent Seasons. And there were a couple of things in particular that stuck out to me to share that I just really appreciated about the book. One of them was the way that Laura structures the book by interweaving, as we just heard from her, interweaving personal stories with more nitty-gritty law concepts. So as much as I'm an environmentalist and really value understanding how the systems in our country and our world work, I'm not an environmental lawyer for a reason. And, my brain probably wouldn't be able to get through an entire like dense environmental law book to understand the concepts Laura presents. But I just really appreciated the chapters that begin with a really concise explanation of an environmental law that's fundamental to, US environmental law, or, concepts like the chapter 3, the environmental law 101, just like this really concise explanation that is then, interwoven with stories from Laura's life that are relatable, and also just like subtly and directly pull in the sustainability concepts that are relevant to the environmental law world. But for me, as someone who's not an environmental lawyer, it just really helped to illuminate it, to hear it like tied into Laura's life as well. So especially I'm an educator myself, and my tendency especially the way that maybe we are raised in this culture, in my experience, is to be very like, content driven. I want to make sure like my students like get their bang for their buck. They get what they paid for. So I tend to try to like cram content in. And Laura's book is just such a great example that making space for connection and storytelling is just such a more effective way to teach and to like make it memorable, the material. And yeah, one sustainability lesson you bring in, Laura, too, is the idea that we'll do best to learn from natural systems and natural entities, like animals, when you were talking about the total immersion swimming and how we can learn from the way that wonderful swimming animals swim. We don't have to like reinvent the wheel. I think of that too with the way that humans are storytellers. We're meant to tell stories and hear stories from others. And I just think you do a great job of bringing that in and like rolling with our nature and how we learn best. So just one more thing I'll share, a little something more specific. In chapter 3, also as someone who's, again, not an environmental lawyer, getting like an inside scoop into the limitations of the way that environmental law is practiced and things that maybe hold back our environmental law system from doing the job we want it to for sustainability. That was just like such a great reminder to me that, I think also growing up in the culture that we live in, I am continuously having to remind myself to get over this idea that experts know it all. And like experts have this big picture understanding that I must lack because I don't have the PhD or whatever. And one section in particular, Laura, there's a section called Environmental Law Today Silos, where you explain that a lot of environmental lawyers are both learning about environmental law in like a very kind of like isolated, topical kind of way. Like maybe they focus on, water or endangered species, and then they're then practicing in that silo in that very like isolated topic. And when we have lots of experts operating in more isolated topical ways, sometimes it's very easy to lose the big picture, and also the collaboration that is needed to really do the best work that we can for sustainability. So yeah, I think just like getting a glimpse into limitations like that reminds me that, I'm just as capable as anyone else of thinking creatively, like around the challenges that we face today with environmental issues. And sometimes even the people who aren't like deeply invested in one very specialized niche might even be better able in some ways to kind of see connections and like form bridges. So I just found that section really empowering for those of us who maybe aren't environmental lawyers. Just kind of like an invitation to bring what we bring and bring our unique perspectives, and there's space for that too. So thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Sarah did a great job. Reading through every chapter, giving me really good feedback. I really definitely admire all of your wisdom, especially around plants and plant medicine and just around here in Western New York. I mean, you can, go for a walk anywhere with Sarah in the city or the country or the mountains. And yeah, she knows the plants around. It's amazing. All right. So I guess I can introduce the next person. We have one more speaker, and then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. For me, you're welcome to ask me whatever question you want. And if that, but then also like, I would like to hear from you all about your, what sustainability means to you and different experiences that you've had with nature. So yeah, start thinking about that. But before we move on to that final part of today, I want to introduce my mom, Janet Evans. She's going to say a few words also like Sarah about the book. And yeah, she's my mom, so she shows up, in the childhood chapter. She's in there. always doing a lot with gardening and nature and animals. And so I'm really grateful that she has been reading my book, supporting my book, sharing my book. And I'll let her talk to you more about what it's been for her to experience this too. Oh, I'm sorry. I will move.
It's okay. You don't have to
so we
spotlight
can
me.
replay. Yeah, we're gonna spotlight you. There you go.
Well, after, following after Sarah and you, Laura and John, this is going to be a little different. I'm going to make it
Got
shorter and
this.
sweeter, but, and I might be reading, but, thank you for inviting me to do this because, I'm very, very proud of you. Yes, so I will start. And she gave me a couple questions that I could answer. And one was what I like. And I know you might think, oh, what is she like in the book? Obviously, I love the whole thing. The cover's beautiful. But what I internalized in that was that I like that an offspring of mine has the deep love for our earth and for all people. And that she sacrificially made the time and the commitment to write this book for such a time as this. I always thought, well, in 20 years I'll be gone and, the earth is going to hell in a handbasket, but I'll be gone. But it's not feeling that way at all. It's like tomorrow, next week, next year, what's going on? So I'm very grateful that Laura, committed to this and wrote such a great book that makes it basic and understanding for a lot of people. Like Sarah said, with all that, with the 101 stuff, that was really great, giving a little perspective on everything and all those initials I had to reread and reread, and I made my book a mess, but it's just important to see all that. And then Laura kind of comes that all this stuff, like Sarah said, nobody's really working together. Everybody has their little niches. And I liked Laura's idea about sustainability, where she uses the words. I said the CCCAA or whatever it is, Laura.
Collaboration.
Yeah, you'd say them all. I mean, it's so important. I have it written down here. Collaboration and
cooperation,
communication, anti-competition, and accountability. And accountability, all of them are so important, but as human beings, we're all so accountable to our communities, our families, to just be the best human being we can and to take care of our world. And really, for such a time as this. And I said, Laura conveys important ideas of basic sustainability through her life lessons, as she showed us with her, childhood. I'm sorry, Laura, I still am. I probably still in trouble with Dad about the Santa Claus thing, but
right.
Really, like that is so powerful, how we just dupe everybody all the time,
Everybody,
And,
well, I don't want to say everybody, but many people have a
Many.
Santa Claus story.
Oh, yeah.
It is a moment of truth for many people. Yeah.
But, I felt a little bad, and I did get in trouble for that for a while. But anyway, and well, then you asked what I learned about the environmental laws, and that people do need to shift their perspective, just personally with cooperating and communicating. We just keep everything in, and it's important to let people talk and to be good listeners. It really is. I'm not going to say too much more. I did have a quote, but I won't read it. But the Pope's quote. You want me to read it, Laura?
Sure. Yeah. Go for
time?
it. Yeah. Pope Francis. Yeah.
Pope Francis's encyclical paper.
Yeah.
Laura actually gave me the book. She bought, I don't know how many copies you bought right away because you were so impressed with it. And I was like, yes, that's great. And it really is a wonderful book. But Pope Francis wrote, the urgent challenge to protect our common home includes a concern to bring the whole human family together to seek a sustainable and integral development. For we know that things can change, Here I want to recognize, encourage, and thank all those striving in countless ways to guarantee the protection of the home which we share. Particular appreciation is owed to those who tirelessly seek to resolve the tragic effects of environmental degradation on the lives of the world's poorest. Young people demand change. They wonder how anyone can claim to be building a better future without thinking of the environmental crisis and the sufferings of the excluded. I just, that you have so many great quotes there, but that is wonderful because, so many people are excluded. And Laura brings that to light too. Thanks, Laura.
All right.
And
Thank
the
you.
last thing I want to mention is she asked me about nature and me. And I said, my Peloton screen name is Nature Calls Me. It always has. It was going to be Nature Calls, but then Dave and I were like laughing about it. So Nature Calls is really
Got
it because I love being outside. I've always been a very outdoorsy person. And I'm thankful that my children also appreciate it. And I've, I said, okay, the yard and beyond was our playground and my kids' playground. And I did teach science and I love the ecology and plant and animal lessons, and I still do. Doesn't scare me, I just put 3 dead mice in the freezer because I'm going to feed the fox tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't scare me. I love nature. It's, the cycles are important. And I do reuse, reduce, recycle, and compost. And I know Laura and Jesse and Dan do. Rarely do we have a fourth of our garbage bin full because it's what we've been doing for our lives. And I'm really thankful that Laura does that, and she's helping the world to kind of look into that. And I said, as far as nature, for me, every day I take a walk. Trees, natural vegetation, birds, animals, and fresh, crisp air, it always will cure what ails you. And Laura wrote in the book that with Laura and her siblings, I used to say, okay, let's go back to the grapes. Let's go back to the pond. Well, now I say, come on, Stella, my little dog, let's go back to the hemlocks. And it's just that. Going back to nature is important. So thank you, Laura. Oh, I wrote that. Laura, thank you for writing the book and sharing your ideas for sustainability and your hope for the future. Thank you for giving me hope too.
All right.
Amen.
Thanks, Mom. That was beautiful. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yep, definitely. I don't know. It's been really good, and I know that a lot of this childhood experiences and just all the ways that you've raised me has really come to this moment too. So thank you. Yep, I love you both. All right. So John, I'm gonna let you now. I'm gonna spotlight you. Sorry, I don't do very many of these Zoom videos, but I'm trying.
It's all
John,
good.
you
Well,
do way more than I do. So now we're here hanging out for about 20 more minutes, and I'm gonna let John sort of facilitate.
So one, I just want to say that thank you both to Sarah and to Ms. Evans, Janet, for sharing that, because I think it's really important that we all share what this book means to us when we're talking about it, because there's a world of academics and a world of people who want to continue the conversation about the earth being a set of statistics that we need to avoid, as opposed to the deep and powerful relationships that clearly Laura's parents facilitated with her having with the earth, and that, you know, for people like me who grew up in lots of different cities, and didn't get a lot of opportunities, it's really powerful to hear, you know, what that's like. And I think that's a big reason why it is so distant and so hard for people to really think about what the planet means to them when you live in an apartment or when you live in a place where you don't get that connection. So I just want to just like reiterate the significance of what you just said, about that connection, and how important it is, and how much of our world is designed to sever that connection so that we don't feel the pain that we're causing and creating. So that's so important and so special, that you're both sharing that right now. And now we'd like to give everybody else an opportunity to ask Laura questions, to share any reflections that they had during the book, but really just want to have an open conversation. And so if everybody starts talking at once, we'll kind of take a stack, and you can kind of raise your hand. And there's a feature on Zoom here, if you click reactions, where you can raise your hand if you wanted to speak. But right now, if anybody wants to just come off mute and share either a question, a comment, or a reflection that you've had from the book, and anything that'll help you kind of share what your experience with the book is or what you want it to be, we'll leave some time for that, and then we'll close out with a couple asks to help support the growth of the community that will be built in the people who've read this book.
Oh, Nick, let's see.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Laura, I just wanted to say, you know, congratulations. I'm very proud of you. I
Thank
think
you.
one thing we talked about before was there are a lot of ways to build a legacy, to you know, leave your mark on the world or leave something behind when you're gone. And writing a book is a great way to do this. You have this now. You know, you and Pope Francis are both published authors, so you're both leaving
Yep.
behind
Mhm.
for other people to see. But I had a question about, you know, I was fortunate to read some of the chapters in advance. I know you gave a lot of the people that were supporting you an opportunity to read the early chapters. By then, kind of the idea of your book was fully formed, and I wondered if it's your book is a very unique kind of fusion of, you know, personal stories and kind of in certain ways the story of your life or segments of your life, and the sustainability movement, the environmental law of movement. And when you started, were you planning to write a personal story, or were you planning to write an educational story, or did it come to you to set the book up this way from the beginning?
I think the overall approach I wanted to do from the beginning, because I took a climate change communication course, like an online course, maybe in like 2016 or 2017. And I also had read a book about how if anyone's ever going to take any sort of action on climate change, it would need to be from personal stories, like just from even a psychological perspective, like people, that's just how people learn and that's how people change. And so I did intend to talk about my life with it, but I think that environmental law 101 chapter that sort of evolved organically is like, you know, there has to be a moment in this book where it really is just explaining environmental law. And then also the after that, the chapters after that have like a 3-page summary of an environmental law. And that kind of came in as I was writing. So yeah, I think I always wanted to talk about myself in the context of inspiring like learning and change about this, but the actual way it all rolled out was a bit of a surprise. So yeah. But it's good to see you here doing all of this, because we've definitely started off doing environmental law work together, did the environmental law journal together. That is one thing, actually, after I wrote the book, I was like, I didn't write about the environmental law journal at all. I just blocked it out like while I was writing and then joined it. But that was a big deal too.
Island Seasons 2 coming soon, right?
Right. Now I
Wow.
gotta start the different seasons now. Silent summers, silent falls. Like,
That was a
that's where
great
this is all
question.
going. Yeah, thanks,
That was a
Nick.
really great question, and hope see lots of nods and resonance with some of the answers. But yeah, I want to give some other folks an opportunity to ask some questions or share some reflections. Anybody else have anything to share?
Mhm.
I just am really excited to dive into this. You know, it's one of those things where I don't, now that I have a baby who's, you know, about 7.5 months old, who I hope to be able to come with me tomorrow. You got, everybody can meet him. Just thinking about what I want to preserve in the world for him. And it is a very new place for me to be, just mentally and emotionally. And so, you know, thinking that sustainability is not only external but internal is definitely something that I need to work on myself. And anything like this book that can help me do that is something that I'm excited to dive into.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I appreciate that. I dedicated the book to my nephew Emerson, and then John's son Justice, and yeah, all the young people of this earth, because yeah, I do think about the other generations a lot, and yeah, 7 generations out from like an indigenous perspective. So yeah, I think children are really amazing for putting all of this in perspective.
Absolutely, and I think there's a lot of really practical things about how we can live our lives. And I think a point that's, I think, really important is that so much of the environmental movement tells us like what we need to do like outside of ourselves, and kind of just like acquiesces all the personal power that we have, and says, oh, that's all too small. But if we don't do those things to make our lives better and give us more capacity to do these bigger things, then we end up in this loop. So I think it's a really important message. But yeah. Ms. McGill, my mom, would love to hear your reflections. So go ahead.
Oh, you're on mute. Oh. Hmm.
You gotta hit the little microphone that has a thing through it.
Uh-oh. There you go.
Okay.
Yep, you're on.
Okay, my apologies to all of you young people. I'm technologically challenged and hopelessly so. And what I have to say is a little bit roundabout, so if you'll bear with me. Silent Seasons and Laura's work has resonated on so many levels that it would take another hour for me to go through them all. So I hit on 2 really, maybe the most prominent. And the first is that the idea of sustainability is as old as the earth itself. And I thank Laura for bringing it into the 21st century. As an art historian, I tend to see everything through the field of creativity. And Buffalo's own Charles Birchfield was an environmentalist. And that's something that isn't well known about him. Everybody knows that he painted nature, he painted outdoors, he loves Zor Valley, yada, yada, yada. But in his heart, he was an environmentalist. And that is kind of a sobering thought that Birchfield died in 1967. He was born in 1893. So well over 100 years ago, we had very prominent Western New Yorkers just kind of preaching environmentalism. And I want to read a passage from Birchfield's journal, which, oops, am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay, so read a passage from his journal. For the record, Charles Birchfield kept a journal from high school, age of 17, until the day he died. So we don't have to guess what he was thinking. He told us. Okay, am I still on? Hello? Okay.
Hello? Okay,
I'm sorry, guys.
it's okay.
I only have two hands and I keep messing up. Okay. Back to Birchfield. So in 1914, well over 100 years ago, Birchfield, as a young man, he was only 21, he wrote in his journal, "Already in my mind, I have made the following resolution, but I will now put it down on paper. I hereby dedicate my life and soul to the study and love of nature, with the purpose to bring it before the mass of the uninterested public." Familiar?
Hey,
Challenge,
that
right?
resonates with me, yeah.
Okay. So it goes on. The purpose to bring it to the public, that they may see and become familiar with the endless number of nature's beauties, wherein lies my greatest happiness. If I can bring only a few serious-minded people to see how vital nature is, besides being beautiful, I shall be content. So I thank you for carrying this torch. And I thank you for another presenting me with another opportunity to connect historical people and facts and events to just give weight to the old adage that there isn't anything new, and that the other one, that we're all connected. And to Jean and Dave, if I had a daughter, I would want her to be just like Laura.
Thanks.
But I only have a son.
Thank you, Marcia. I really appreciate it. Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Deborah and Laura. You're the host, so you can mute my mom if she can't figure out.
Oh, okay. Okay,
If you just go to the three dots, but yeah.
gotcha. All right.
Okay, I just wanted to add on to what Marcia said, and she did it so well, actually, about Charles Birchfield. There's a part in his journals where he and his wife go out and they find a maple leaf, just a single maple leaf, and they frame it, and it's in his studio now at the Birchfield Center. And the last time when I was there, I saw this maple leaf, and I found out the story of it. And it just reminds me, Laura, of your book, where you are walking in nature and you see things. And even as a child, you found special meaning. And it's so nice because your family and your parents helped you all feel that too. But I thought that really, this single maple leaf is really representative of your childhood. And I'm glad you put in all the stories. I think that storytelling is really powerful, and it's a great way for all of us to learn from you. And I'm so glad that you wrote this book. I'm so glad that it's so clearly written. A professor that I had said that clear writing is clear thinking. And you really show that in your book. And you can see the love you have for the earth and nature and your family and all your friends. And I just want to say bravo to you. Very good job.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks, Zampy.
Well, I think we have a little bit more time here if anybody else has anything they want to share.
Oh, Cat's here.
Oh.
Since no, oops,
Oh, there you go.
raise my hand.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Hi.
Hi, Venus. I didn't read my last page, but it was something that I learned, and yeah, it's great to see everybody here. But I wanted to share this. It might be hard, but I learned that someone with such love and passion for our earth that wants harmony and equal justice has a very difficult life path. And Laura mentioned in law school that 1 out of 5 graduated out of 400 UT law students that want to practice environmental law. And I didn't realize, but I mean, I know how much it hurts her really, because it is such a tough, lonely road, because with their wants and needs, no one really notices what's going on. But Laura sees, and I know she suffers. But she keeps plugging away. Thank you, Laura. And I wanted to say that I'm so happy that she has found John and Justice to help make her life more fulfilling.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, because it's tough, and I appreciate what you're doing, and everything, the comments people made are so true, and I pray that a lot of people will get their hands on this book, and great idea for presents and stuff, because people need to, yeah, be sustainable with themselves first, and I'm glad you are, so that you can help the environment. So thanks, Laura. Thanks,
Yeah.
John,
All right. Thank
and everybody
you.
that's here.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. And I think it's been really powerful, really emotional time here. And I think I can feel the love of the earth that everyone in this room has, and the way that Laura herself, whether you read her book or not, has inspired us all to live into that love. And I think that we want a lot of other people to have this experience. So I want to ask everyone on this call right now to think about 10 people in your life who love the earth, who love nature, and who you know will look at their love of nature, their love of the earth very differently after reading it. Because I believe that this book ultimately is going to be successful and sell a lot of copies. I think that might take some time, but I think that I haven't yet met someone who read it that didn't get deeply impacted by that. And just like Laura has shared the impact her experiences had, I want to push everyone here to share the impact that this book has had with the people, not everybody you know, but the people who you know. It will mean something too, and that book will add to the meaning of their love that they already have for this planet, and for whatever parts of nature that they really appreciate and share with you, because I think that's ultimately how we're going to get this out. And I know Laura has a few other asks of people to help sell it, but I really think that personal connections are the best way to build real connections, not just hype. And I believe over time, those personal connections are going to result in this book also being really massively successful.
Thanks, John. Yeah, this was just what I made. I was writing down ideas of ways to support Silent Seasons, me, this cause. Yeah, like I said earlier, there's an in-person party at Community Beer Works tomorrow from 5 to 7. We're going to be, talking a little bit about the book similar to this, but mostly just talking with people, having some drinks and food, and just celebrating that this milestone has happened. You can order Silent Seasons now. It is on Amazon. I'm learning as I'm going. Silent Seasons is it's a part of Ingram Spark, which is an international book distributor that prints on demand. So pretty much all bookstores and libraries are hooked up to Ingram Spark. And so you can make a request from most local bookstores. I just called Talking Leaves yesterday, and they have it up on their website. So it's pretty easy to order the book. Even now, I'm ordering author copies, and you can talk to me directly. I'm also looking for reviews of Silent Seasons. So, a lot of you pre-ordered the book. And so those aren't like verified Amazon purchases, but I think you can still review anyway. There's definitely rules about it, but Goodreads is another website. And then, yeah, just sharing this book with different book clubs, different groups that are doing gardening or hiking, all these different sustainability jobs that are kind of out there. And I'm currently doing planning work. I know a lot of planners have to take environmental law courses, so thinking about that. And then I also have an email list. I think almost all of you are a part of it. And you can still sign up at keepingthingsalive.org. So yeah, that's what's happening. There will definitely be more announcements, articles, interviews. I'm going to be on Jim Anderson's radio show the next 2 Mondays to talk about the book and environmental law. So yeah, just keep reaching out, and I just doing what you're doing. I really appreciate everything, and I'm so grateful that you're all here too. All right, so I think I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody. Does anybody, have anything else they want to say? Oh, we got a new one. Oh, thanks, Marcia. You rock too. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great night. And John, do you have anything else? We're all set today.
Everybody in Buffalo, we'll see you tomorrow, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and just stay safe, mask up, and have a good night. Bye,
Everybody.
everyone. Bye, Sarah. Thanks.
Bye, Laura.
Bye. Bye, Susie, Chris, Jake.
Bye,
Oh,
Laura.
there's Wilder. Hey. Bye, Aunt Carrie. Bye, Holly. Oh, bye, Grandma Jean. Oh, there he is. Oh, wow, he's getting so big. Emerson didn't make it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, good to see you.
You too.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. All right. Bye. I'm going to end the meeting now. See ya.